So yeah, crappy watch band compatibility and FaceTime.
All right, here we go. It is another show. Tom A, Jeff B, the BAF boys, Basic AF, we're back at it again.
Dang. You planned that, didn't you?
No, well okay. Maybe a little bit, but I don't want to, if I say I planned it and people don't like it, they'll be like, God. One thing if it's off the cuff, but he planned it and it still sucked. So,
we suck every week with the best of them.
Well, we do.
It doesn't matter.
We do. Yeah. Yep. And so real quick, before we get things started, as always, I want to say thanks for being here with us. And if you've been listening for a while now, we appreciate you coming back again and again for the show. It means a lot to us. And if you're new, we want to say thanks for checking us out, giving us a shot. We hope to earn a spot on your playlist. If you do enjoy the show and you wouldn't mind doing us a solid, you could drop us a rating or review, or both, on Apple Podcast. Follow us there, Spotify, Overcast, all the big apps, the podcast
all
apps.
The big apps. That's correct. Every app that you can do it on. Actually, that's preferable. Download us from every single app. Listen to us 3 times a week. That's a good thing for all of us.
Yeah, we're good with that.
Yeah. Come on.
So, Jeff.
Come on.
That nice intro music we have, who's that courtesy of?
Why, my friend, that is from Psychokinetics, and who you can also find as Celsius 7 on all your favorite streaming services like Apple Music and Spotify and, I don't know, wherever else you're stealing music from these days. we can find a way to do it. But yeah, that is Psychokinetics artwork, as always, by the incredible Randall Martin Design. And so we encourage you to check out both Psychokinetics, Celsius 7, and Randall Martin Design. And you will find that you get your bump on, and then you can get some good design work done. So Good stuff.
Absolutely. And we thank them for helping us out.
Yeah, definitely. And for, donating music and, Randall, don't tell Mr. Celsius 7. We paid you, Randall.
It's our little secret. So coming up in this show, we're going to talk about an app that Jeff and I have been using of late, the Sessions app. If you were listening to the show we did with Adam Olson a couple of shows ago, that was one that he recommended, so we've both kind of jumped on that one. We're also going to dig into some Nintendo Switch talk, so we're going to talk games as well. Baby. So I'm looking forward to that, because I know that's something Jeff's been big into of late. So that's coming up. But before we get to that, just a couple of quick little things. Did you see this week the blurb from Mark Gurman at Bloomberg on and this is all speculation, but the Apple Watch 10? Did you see that by chance?
Did not.
Okay, no. So he had a blurb in his
tell me about it.
Power On newsletter, to give attribution appropriately, that in 2024 or 2025, the first, I guess, major redesign of the watch, excluding the Apple Watch Ultra, which was a different design form, is coming up. And really the only reason I wanted to talk about this, because it's so far out, is that one of the things he mentioned is that this could be the break from the consistency that Apple's had with the watch bands being compatible with all generations of the watch since day one, effectively.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I thought that was that's what caught my attention. The rest of the stuff is, because they have done for Apple, because we ding Apple sometimes for, cash grabs for adapters for different things, or nickel and diming for storage upgrades and things like that. And so I got to be honest, I have been very surprised with how long they've actually maintained compatibility with the watch bands.
Yeah, across pretty much all of them. It doesn't matter. I think some of the larger ones you can't use on the smaller watches, but for the most part, yeah.
Yeah,
works everywhere.
Which for them is... If
That's
they do
new.
it, right. Yeah. And if they do it in a year or two, I think at that point it's like, well, that was a good run because I mean, it's watch is what 10 years. This will be Series 9 coming out this fall.
Yeah.
So by then, that's pretty good. And I don't think I'd be upset with that at that point.
Yeah, and here's another. You know what? Since we're bringing up possible design changes, the Apple Watch. Excuse me, I'm coughing without hitting the mute.
That's
yeah, we're cheap idiots. I don't have a real mute button. I'd have to do actual work to mute my mic. I'm actually back in California without getting my stuff stolen, which is pretty amazing. My mom had some surgery last week, and so I'm here helping to take care of some things. But my brother asked me last night, we were looking at the camera app that lets you, control your iPhone's camera, and you can see the video on there. But one of the things he wondered, and I kind of do too, is how come we haven't yet gotten an Apple Watch with a FaceTime camera in it? You think that's coming in the next one? Do you want it? Come on, man. I see that look on your face. It's like, nah, I don't want that Dick Tracy watch.
Well, see, now they just spin it that way. Of course I want it.
Of course, I got to shape it.
I mean, I was a kid once. It's a long time ago,
right.
but still.
Yeah. It shows.
I think it's one of those things I'd have to see it. Because I don't do phone calls through the watch. We've talked about how I don't really do many phone calls, so that shouldn't be much of a surprise. But but it's one of those. I don't know if it were there, would I use it? And I might.
Yeah. So have you turned on the cellular feature on your Apple Watch Ultra?
I have not.
Okay. So I have, and I have gone about, not that I need to FaceTime anybody, that I could see similar to the touchscreen Mac where, who wants to have their fingers up on the screen all the time? I don't quite understand that. I get it on an iPad occasionally, but it's kind of a pain in the neck sometimes to constantly have to work with your finger up like that.
Yeah.
And I could see walking down the street with your watch in front of your, face, you're not going to work out too well. But I think, my brother had a valid question. It's that technology seems like it should be there, and I wonder if we're going to get something like that in some near future iteration of the watch.
Right.
Necessary? Would I use it? I might. I mean, I did turn on the cellular feature on my watch, and I do use that without, if I'm mowing the lawn or something, I got my watch out there and don't have to have it by my phone. I'm all good with that.
Yep.
So I don't know. I could see it being used. I could see a lot of people using it.
Yeah.
It's kind of surprising, and he wasn't wrong in stating that it was surprising that Apple hasn't yet added that option on any of their watches. So,
yeah. So we will find out.
So yeah, crappy watch band compatibility and FaceTime.
Man, that's quite a presentation.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Hi.
Well, send them your consulting fee for that.
Yeah, let me ask the boss if I can do that section of the presentation when the time comes.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on the watch too much today, but I just thought that was of note.
Of note. That is notable. Pretty interesting. And it would be interesting to see if that's the case. I would like a couple more watch bands, I think.
Yeah, how many do you have now for the Ultra? 2? 3?
Well, I had 4, but one got stolen. So and it never got used. That's the sad thing. That was the swimming band, the ocean band that I had planned to use, but it found its way. I don't know. I think if I go by the In-N-Out in Oakland over on Hagenberger, I dig around in the weeds, I might get my watch band back. Might get my laptop and my iPad back too. Because
wouldn't that be something?
Nobody's using that. Jeez, yeah, would be interesting.
That would be.
But I have 3. I have 3. And the one that I wear most often is the I never know the names of these things. The one with the loop and the orange tab on it that's greenish.
Trail band.
The trail band. Yeah, I like that one best.
I like that one too. Yeah, it's going.
Yeah. I've got the Alpine one. Kind of funky.
And
I've got a trail band for
what color trail band did you get? You said it's the black one with the orange tab?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grayish, black, something like that.
Yep.
And it's probably grayer now, especially the orange tab, than it was to start.
Is your orange tab dirty?
It's filthy, and I've tried cleaning it with a toothbrush.
Yeah, it's just just hopeless.
It doesn't look very pretty.
No, it doesn't. And I got the green, Alpine green, whatever they call it, the loop. I got that one, and then I got the orange one. And I'm finding the orange one is just as prone to picking up dirt as the orange tab. So that's my house band. I wear it around the house.
Good.
Yeah. So what a waste of money. $100. What an idiot.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah, but
$100 here,
YOLO,
$100 there.
so,
right.
Yeah. It's either that or clothes.
It's you only live once or you only wear one. That's
Daily watch bands.
Yeah, not
daily
me.
wear. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Okay.
I do change watch faces for various occasions. Like I have one that I change if depending on what clothes I'm wearing, I make it match my shirt or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm that nerd.
Okay. That's why they give you the option.
Right. 100%.
The only other thing real quick I saw was that the Apple cases for iPhone, the leather cases, was reported by one of the rumor people that you can find it on Mac Rumors, but it was some guy that just posts stuff on X. See that? I got it right. X.
What the frig? I don't even know what you're talking about. Are you watching the porn channel again, Tom?
I gave that up.
Right. But you're watching X. You're on X all the time, right?
And
we're not talking ecstasy, right?
Every time I see that, I think of DMX. I think I've said that a couple of times now, but it's true.
Yes.
And,
and
people at work now are doing that too. Yeah, we're throwing DMX memes around the office. But anyhow, they're not going to make leather cases, is what this guy was saying.
Can I just sell here? So nobody can see this online, but I have this leather case that was beautiful, and I really liked it. Mm-hmm. But dude, talk about filthy and falling apart.
Yeah, the quality has gone way down on those things. And I think it happened when they switched to what did they switch to this kind of rectangle format again, or design, not format, but is that the 12 that they did that? Was the 11 still kind of the rounded one, like the 10 series, and then the 12, they squared them off again, going back to kind of like the 4 vibe anyway. Yeah, and I think when they did that is when they kind of nosedived on the quality, because they used to wear really well and they looked nice, but these it's a painted dye or something, and the corners rub off, and then the biggest reason I like it is because they're light
and they feel great.
Right,
they really
very
do.
Thin, and they don't, but quality wise, they haven't been that great.
Yeah, I think after I am going to get the next phone, and when I get that, I'm going caseless again. I did that for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And then I got the leather case for the 11 that I had, and then the leather case for this 13. I'm a odd number man. And I think I'm going back to no case.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that feel. So
yeah,
I could make a joke would be filthy, and I'm not going to go in that direction. But
on to the next topic.
Yeah, right. Woohoo!
And promise, we're not drinking. We don't really drink.
I'm sober. It's 5:00 in California on a Friday evening, and I have only had water to drink all day. So.
8:19 here, and it's in the same situation. Yeah. So, all right. So those two little things aside, let's get into the app that we want to discuss.
Yeah. So sessions, really interesting. So when Adam Olson, that we had on last show, when Adam was talking about sessions, I mentioned that I had been using in my writing app in Highland Pro, I had been using the timer for that, which I do all the time. It's a great way for me to get, if I'm feeling crappy about writing or putting any other words down, it's a good way for me to just kind of kick that up and get going. And then it would on occasion use an app called Vitamin R, which is a Pomodoro app. Pomodoro being, Pomodoro timer method, where you do something for 20 to 25 minutes. You take a break for 5.
You know that real quick, that app, Vitamin R.
Yes.
I think when we were doing the Revenge of the Fanboy podcast 12, 13 years ago, whatever that was, I think that was one of John's picks. Remember we used to do picks, like each show we do an app pick or something, and I think he had that as a pick.
He may have.
It's been around a long time.
And it is a great app. That's a great app. I've used it on the phone, and I've used it I've used it on my Mac quite a bit as well to do the same thing, just to kind of give me a kickstart. So, but what Adam said about sessions that was kind of interesting to me was that he was essentially keeping a diary of what it was that he was working on as he was going along, and that it gave great reporting, that it gave you the ability to kind of really look at what it was that you were doing, and gave you the ability to go back in time and see, what you accomplished, where, when, why, and how. So I did download the app. I had a lot of stuff going on, so did not pick it up before my free session ended, but I began setting up different groups. And what I started finding is that I was using it more than I had used any of those Pomodoro apps before, for a couple of reasons. One, I was scheduling everything that I was doing. And the upside to that for me was, you get some days where you're doing a bunch of little things here and there. It really doesn't seem like you've done much of anything at all. It gave me a little better view, actually a lot better view into those kinds of days, including days when, it's a weekend. I'm not really doing work. I'm doing, housework. I'm cleaning dishes, cleaning the house, mopping the floor, mowing the lawn, doing all that kind of stuff. That those appear to be decent accomplishments, but I didn't realize, when I mow the lawn, I'm putting like 3 hours into it. I have a big piece of property. I mow it, by hand. And it gave me, if I can say this, like a greater sense of satisfaction around the work that I was doing. I like the setup. I mentioned right before we started this session here, I kicked off a session before our recording session. It has, before you begin every session, you have the option of turning on this breathe feature.
Yep.
And it's really crazy for me how that kind of settles me into whatever it is that I'm doing. I look forward to that breathe,
nice.
Which, by the way, just want to point out, I have set it up so that each of my recording things is supposed to have 3 breaths, not just the one to kick off the session.
Right.
There's some bug going on. It's not working. It's doing one, and I'm disappointed every time I use it. But it's become a really useful tool that actually I like using every day as a means of not tracking my time. I have a time tracking app called Time that's excellent, TYME, if anybody's looking for a great tool to be able to do some time tracking for billing purposes, but to track what it is that I was doing, when, where, why, and how. So I'm kind of thrilled to be using
sort
it.
of time tracking, but not for billing purposes or anything
it's
like
not,
that. It's just so you're aware of what you just said.
So I have some awareness around what it is that I'm doing, and days that sometimes feel like you didn't do crap today, dude. Which
today
sometimes I didn't do crap today, but
which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's something to be said for that as well. But it's helping me to get a better idea of what it is that I'm actually doing, and allowing me to keep notes around those same things, saying I did X, Y, and Z.
No, I was just going to say, talk to me a little bit about the scheduling. You mentioned that you were scheduling it. So are you like scheduling the day and then working through the sessions? No, I don't do it that way. Or,
nope.
Okay.
I usually have work to do. So what it does is it spits stuff onto the calendar. Yep. So I can see from 2 to 3, I did this, from 3 to 4, I did that,
kind of
all that kind of stuff. Right. It's more historical information in the calendar rather than, let's do something
not like
in the
a
future.
time blocking type thing. It's just, here's what I'm working on. And then when I go back, then you see how the day broke down and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly that. And I like that. I'm not, Adam does time blocking. Do you do that kind of thing where you block out like an hour to do X?
Dipped into that and out of it a few times. It hasn't really stuck for me. Because I just find work, it's easier if it's like side hustle stuff. Like for this, I can put, Saturday morning, 9 to 11, I'm doing whatever. But for like day-to-day work, things just vary too much at the office because, it's a support role. So support, it's,
Right.
you're at the whim of support.
At the mercy of whatever the heck's going on.
Yeah.
So that, by the way, is the kind of stuff I find this really valuable for. So I get a call from a client that says, hey, my website's down. Could you do this? I can click that on in sessions and say, I'm going to work on this for 25 minutes and see where I get. And I say I'm working with, the Finkelstein law firm or whoever it is that I'm working with to do some piece of work. And I'm able to quantify that. Whereas going into a normal day, I might say, you know what, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write for an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. I'm going to edit for an hour, and then I'm going to revise for, an hour more. But because of the nature of what I do work-wise, I kick off that hour, and then I get that message saying, hey, I need help.
Support.
And so I jump over to the help thing, but then I go back and go, dude, you didn't write. Like you said, you're going to write for 2 hours today. You didn't even write for 2 hours. It's helping me to see those things a little differently, and then, judge myself, as I often do.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not too harshly, I hope.
Oh, every day.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back a couple of steps and maybe talk about kind of the premise a little more of the app, kind of what the foundational setup components would be. Because one of the pieces of feedback I got on the show that we did with Adam that was that content itself was great, but if we would had taken a minute or two for each of the apps to just explain a little bit more what the app is conceptually, some of the kind of the basics to help frame it up a little bit, that might help. So maybe for folks here, if you want to kind of run through that a little.
Sure. So first of all, I would say feel free to download the Session app on the App Store just to have a first look at it. But what it is, as I said, or I started to say in the beginning, it uses something called the Pomodoro method. Pomodoro method, and I'm no deep diver in this, basically breaks your work down into bite-sized chunks. Typically, the default for the Sessions app is 25 minutes. So you say, and I'm going to switch over to the app right now and look at it. I'm going to create a new session. I have categories for those sessions. So I have a general category that is just kind of whatever, nothing in particular. I have housework, I have writing, I have reading, believe it or not, that I've rolled into this.
That's a good one.
I've had podcast rolled into this. I've got personal stuff, where I'm doing stuff around the house. I have play, believe that or not, but I've added that in as a thing because, for me, being raised as a Protestant with the Protestant work ethic, play is not something you do. So I've added.
And we're going to talk about that play stuff in a little bit too.
We are going to talk about play in a second, which I'm excited about. Consulting and theater, these are all things. And then finally cooking, believe it or not, because I spend, I do the majority of cooking, which I like a lot, but, that's typically an hour or so out every day. But I've created these various groups. And then, for example, for tonight, for our podcast session recording, what I would do is I would prep this. I would say I'm doing a podcast. I'd give it essentially what they call an intention, but I'm just saying we're doing episode 16. Believe it or not, folks, this is 16th episode of the Basic AF show. So thank you. And then I set a time for it. The default in the application is 25 minutes. You can set up your default to be whatever it is that you want it to be. And in this case, I just wound the clock to an hour and 15 because I know, we BS off mic for the first 15 minutes or so.
And we BS on mic for the next hour.
Right. But we get all the dirty words out at the beginning.
We get our Tourette's out of the way early.
Yeah. And then I kick off that timer and go about the business of doing whatever it is that I need to do. Once a session is completed, once you've completed a time session, you can either go to a break, or you can end the session, or you can continue the session. If you end the session, what you have the option of doing is then rating how it is that you were during that session. Were you distracted? Were you neutral? Were you focused? And then you can put some notes in. We recorded for an hour. I was mostly focused, although, not as focused as I should have been. Tom was getting pissed at me, and so I'm going to be a better boy next week. And, but you can put those kinds of notes in, so you've got the ability to review what it is that you're doing, or what it is that you have done in that preceding session. And then once you complete that session, you can create a new one. If you repeat the session or go on a break, you break for a set amount of time, again determined by you. Which that's kind of the idea behind the Pomodoro method as well, is you need to focus for a specific period of time, and then you need to let your brain breathe for a couple of seconds. So you go do something else, you go walk outside, or you do some other thing, and then you come back to whatever it is that you were working on before, and so it goes. So what it's doing is helping you to break your day down into chunks, into manageable chunks. And I think sometimes the most overwhelming thing is to look at the task at hand and think, oh my God, how am I ever going to get this done today? And by saying, instead, I'm just going to do some stuff for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I can, and then I'm going to take a little break, and then I'm going to come back and do it for another 25 minutes and continue through that process until you get it done. What it does is, for me at least, that overwhelmed feeling that I can often get when I'm, have a large task at hand, it pulls that back for me. And that's, oftentimes when I say that I use that in my writing app, oftentimes the idea of starting writing again, if you've got a lot behind you and you're in the middle of writing something, just the idea of, oh my God, I'm working on a novel. What am I going to do? Just saying, you know what, I'm just going to write for 25 minutes.
Right.
And I'm not going to worry about it is a really useful feature.
It just feels like a much more manageable chunk rather than,
correct.
Right. And so much of it is mental. And to be able to do that. And you mentioned the categories there. And one of the things I liked is it's kind of up to the person, the individual, to see how many categories they want. And so it sounds like you had maybe 10 or 12.
I have about
ballpark.
10.
Yeah. And I think I ended up with about the same, 8 to 10, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, like this week, I'm still developing the habit. Like I don't think I've gotten as far as you have. With like the consistency of it. But like, I think it was yesterday I was working on something and I forgot to put it in like as the session. So I just went in and added like a little 15-minute session, right? Because you can do it after the fact too, if you forget or just want to add it for, historical data purposes. And, but today in particular, there were a couple that I ran this morning when I was doing something. And do you keep the menu bar thing up there, up in the menu bar that shows the current session and the time remaining and that sort of thing?
I do, but because I use the a menu bar app that hides it, so if I open it up right now, it says I see podcast episode. I can see it if I do it now, and it kind of gives me a little timer. I really don't need that or want that. In fact, the other thing that this app does is it can make like little ticking sounds in the background.
Yeah, I turned that off.
Same. I do not.
It freaked me out the first time it kicked in. I was like, what is that clock?
But what I do like is the 2-minute warning, and it will give you a warning. Again, something that you can set a time on that. But at 2 minutes, it'll say, hey, you've got, your session's about to come to end.
Oh, I have to check that out. I haven't looked at that.
Yeah, it's a really nice feature. So you turn that on, and what it does is, it'll say this session is going to end in 2 minutes, and then you have the option of tacking on 5, or saying, you know what, I'm going to be complete with this. And I've had situations where, say, I'm reading a script and I'm 5-6 pages from the end, and I want to start a new session for that. So it's just add it, and then get it done, and then put my notes in. Integrates well with Apple Watch, but no app for the Apple Watch. So you can't kick it off. All it does is gives you notifications, but it's a nice and allows you to, either end it or add 5 minutes.
And that's great if you walk away, like you get distracted or I don't know, something happens and you have to leave. It may not just be a distraction if something comes up. The thing with the menu bar thing that today when I was working on those couple of things, I actually reached for my phone. So I was like, oh, I'm going to check something on social, right? And I was like, yeah. Then I saw my clock ticking up in the menu bar thing and I put the phone down. So it served a purpose, right? So I was like, I was like, that's good. And
kicked you back.
It did.
So are you using, because the other feature that's there is if you have the phone app, the phone app also has that feature. So on a lock screen,
right,
you've got the little widget that when you pick up your phone too, it goes, yo, dork, you're supposed to be doing, thing number 3 or whatever it is that you were.
Yep.
That you
and
were
it'll
doing
throw
at the
the
time.
live activity up in the thing too on the 14s.
Yes. And here's another thing that you can use the app for. I haven't really done this yet because I'm pretty good at it, but you can make it so, and Adam actually alluded to this last week, you can make it so it turns apps off when you begin a session. So no messages, no Teams notifications, no Slack notifications. It has direct integration with Slack, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Although I don't use Slack. If I don't have to, I don't use Slack. There are instances where Slack is definitely a requirement. But what it will do is you go to open messages, it goes, nope, kicks messages off.
That's what he said. He thought it was crashing.
Yeah, he thought it was crashing every time he opened it. He's just in a session. But it is able to do that. And then it turns those app blocks off as soon as your session is done. So it's not like you have to go back in and reopen the application.
Yeah. You do anything with shortcuts?
I haven't yet.
Yeah, I did the real simple built-in ones where when it starts the session, it just turns on Do Not Disturb, and I just roll with that.
Yeah, I haven't done any of that. I plan to do that a little more, but haven't done that. Although I will say I'm starting to play with shortcuts a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we're going to come back to that. I think that's a show we should do just on shortcut stuff, and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, and maybe we'll even stick a couple out there. And you can download them and see what uses.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see because shortcuts is interesting. So I think we should definitely come back to that.
Yeah, absolutely true. So how about you? So you said that you started using it, but not a lot. I will say, I want to hear how you're doing it, but I will say that I got a little anal about it. And with every single thing that I was doing, I would just say, you know what? I'm going to put it on a session. Yeah.
Right.
It was easy especially after I'd created those categories to just say, okay, this is what I'm doing. Donk, 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 boom.
Right.
And let it go.
Yeah. So I've got it up and I'm looking. So one of the nice things, and you touched on it a little bit, is after you've done the sessions and everything, there's a section in the app for activity. I think that's what it's called. And you go in there and you can look at your activity day, week, or month, and it's got your typical date ranges, right? So you can do today, yesterday, this week, last week, and so on, last 28 days, 14, whatever. And so for last week, for example, I had an average focus per day. And of course, this is all because it's based on what you put into it, but it was hour and 16 minutes. Says I was most focused at noon. Not sure what to take from that. But the total focus for the week was 7 hours and 41 minutes. So let's see how it looks this week. Fairly consistent. So this week I had 6 hours, 28 minutes, which was down 16% from last week. Still most focused at noon. Man, I like lunch, which I don't track, by the way. That's not in there. But categories that I had were pretty comparable to yours. Like I kept just a general work, and then I separated out by intention. So like it could be, admin work, or it could be reporting, or whatever it is, right, for work. I have started tracking like exercise stuff. Like I'll start a session when I, work out, then I end it. I'll put some notes in it, about the workout and things like that. I set one up for, home stuff. So when I do budgeting and that sort of thing, as far as my ratings go, last week I rated 14 because I don't do it every time. So I had 11 that were focused, 3 were neutral. This week I only rated 7, but they were all focused. So, but what's kind of nice is like so today when I was doing some of that admin work and I was tracking it, like I made a note about the work and then I put a link to the actual note that I have in the Bear app where, because, when I was working, I had to take some detailed notes on what I was doing. So if I see it here and I got, I wonder what something, I can always link back to the note because it's got those URLs and everything. So that's kind of nice. So yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I did the monthly subscription for now. I think, did you commit to the whole year? Yeah.
Yeah. I once I started playing with it, I thought, you know what, I want to give myself time to really use it and not feel pressure to have to re-up again after a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've already canceled the subscription, but I probably will re-up it. I just texted you something, and actually you can maybe throw this up in the show notes too. The thing that I tried to text it in Riverside, but it wouldn't let me do it. But that's cool. Kind of an interesting breakdown. So that was a pretty decent day for me. Didn't use it every single step of the day. Didn't do it every way. But what's nice is you can kind of see the actual breakdown of what it is that I did throughout that particular day, which is, a fair amount. There are gaps between sessions. I don't think that that's a problem. There was an actual break, that was in there for 45 minutes, which is lunch for me, I think. But it's nice for me to see this because sometimes I think when going through the day that I'm not quite getting done what it is that I need to get done, and this has really given me a better eye into the fact that I am with some detailed notes. And it also throws this on my regular calendar. I'm not quite sure whether or not that's a thing that I want for keeps.
I'm on the fence with that one too. I just made a new calendar for it. I just said session stuff and it just drops it into that. But
yeah, same. I did the exact same thing.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm sure there's use cases for that. If Adam explained it, I'd probably be, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I'm struggling a little bit with that one at this point.
I think that's one of the things that he was saying about historical, being able to look at historical work on the calendar, just have some idea of what it is that he's doing. But the reporting on it is really nice. I'll send a screenshot of the other one too for the same day, just so people can see that as well. So you've got the ability to, did not want to take that screenshot. Let's try that again. So I think it'll be something that, you can kind of get a really good idea for what the app is. But personally, I found it quite useful. Like I said, I'm in California for my mom this week. I'm not using it at all.
Right.
It's not a thing. I'm using it for the podcast right now, but the important thing is whatever mom needs. So, hanging out with her and, goofing off with my niece and
right. Just stuff that doesn't need to be in there. Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't, I've got no other goal during this time than just, making
hang out and be useful.
Hang out and be useful. Yeah. Exactly that.
All right. So I think we're both fans of it and encourage folks to go out and give it a try. And it's one of those things. There's a trial, so there's really nothing to lose. So
no, not at all.
And if you're one of those that's curious, like how you're spending time, and even if you don't want to do the logging stuff to any great degree, you can always just use it for the Pomodoro things, which if you have problems focusing, like sometimes I do, like earlier I said, I almost picked up the phone, but then I put it back down because I saw, and I only had like 3 minutes left in the session. So I'm like, just finish what you're doing. So if you're that type personality, it could be helpful.
Yeah, and I will say there is a free version of the app. That free version doesn't have dark mode, doesn't have some of the reporting features, but you've got the ability to use, I believe, just the Pomodoro timer. So there's, but you get a week for free. Yeah, exactly. And I like it. I like it a ton. And once I'm back not doing what I'm doing at the moment. I'm back on it. It's going to be a regular thing.
Thank you, Adam Olson, for the recommendation.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for those who said a little more detail when we're talking about apps and what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's probably good as time as any to see. If you have feedback like that, like obviously if you know us in person, just tell us. But if otherwise, you can send us an email, feedback@basicafshow.com. Because, sometimes when, we're using this stuff day to day, we do kind of skip over that. It's like,
it's great.
We need
just
to
go get it.
Explain it a little bit more. So, all right. So Sessions app, 2 thumbs up at this point. Maybe in 6 months or so, we'll revisit, see if it's stuck with us long term or not.
I think valuable.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
So up next,
Tom.
yes.
You may recall that for my birthday this past year, both my daughters and my son-in-law decided that I needed a Nintendo Switch.
Yes, I do recall that.
Gave me a Nintendo Switch. And little true confession business here. I, played video games back when, on the Apple II, you had Space Invaders, and, I did that for a little bit. And then jumping back to my relatively, I won't call it strict upbringing in Protestant upbringing, but it was definitely something I imposed upon myself. Was like, dude, the world's going to end. No time to
right.
Be playing games.
Ain't got time for that.
So I limited myself and did not play a lot of games. But what's funny is at the time that my birthday was coming around, I started asking my kids, saying, you know what? If I were to get myself one of these for my birthday, I was thinking of giving myself a present, like what might be some good games for me to start with? And I got a message back from the kid saying, don't do that.
No telling that.
Yeah. Don't get yourself, they were good about it because they were funny. They when they delivered when the gift came, when we had a little birthday celebration, there was a piece of paper in the box that says, so sorry about this, going to be a couple of weeks, but you're not going to get the Switch. And then they had it in the back room with a bunch of goofballs. So I got some very nice gifts for that birthday, by the way. My son got me this electric massager that's awesome, that I would highly recommend. But then the other kids got me the Switch. So I have been since then playing games on the Switch and really just kind of relaxing into it. Thus, the play category that I have in sessions, where I just say, you know what, for the next half an hour, I'm just going to play a game and I'm going to chill with it. And I started out with a game that I began playing on the Mac and never could quite, I don't know. There's something about playing games on a computer that I just can't handle. I don't know what it is. I'm not very good with controls. I forget where they are. Is it the K, the S and the D and the F key and the E, all that stuff to move around, or the arrow keys. It never really worked out with me. But I had started several whiles ago, playing Firewatch on the Mac, and couldn't hang with it, but decided that was going to be the first game that I was going to play on the Switch. And man, I'm telling you, a couple of different things. First of all, first game of that sort that I have ever finished. Now, I will say there's there was an iOS game or two that I've played to the end that I loved. But otherwise, I would buy these games and I would never play them, or I would never finish them. I finished that, and I will say that it for me has become almost a new kind of storytelling that I hadn't really considered before. I just thought it was playing a game. I'm playing a game. It's almost sit down and play a game. And Firewatch, for one, really kind of a melancholy, sweet, interesting game.
So what's the premise of that?
So you've got this guy who is walking out and starts by walking out into the woods, and he's in radio contact with another person. He's going to be essentially a ranger. He's going to sit in a fire tower all summer and watch for fires. And as the story unfolds, without giving any spoilers, you discover that he's married but not together. His wife is sick. There's a number of other things, and he's just kind of, he can't hang with that. So he's gone to do some other thing. He's
Gotcha.
gone to be a guy in
his escape.
In the woods. It is his escape, and the voice on the radio is the person in the other fire tower is a woman, which from the story's perspective, or at least from my perspective in the story, is giving him kind of a way to touch his wife, like emotionally kind of have the conversations that he couldn't have with her. Mm-hmm. He does have with this person throughout it. He's got some problems he's got to solve. There are, an actual fire does start, and he's got to make sure people get out of there. And then the next thing he has to do is he has to make sure he gets himself out of there. But it's a really gorgeous environment. Puzzles that were on par with my, lack of game playing for over the years, but really fun. And the experience overall on the Nintendo Switch has been delightful to me. It's like, I've got it sitting right here. It's super portable. And I've been told I should do this, but I've never hooked it up to my television yet. I just pop the thing out, sit down. I was going to ask about that. Yeah, I haven't.
Just chill out on the couch, then handheld mode, right?
Mostly handheld mode. Yeah, and it's there are some games that I have that I think deserve to be played more than just in handheld mode. I've started Breath of the Wild, which is one of the Zelda series. Yep. And that's gorgeous.
It is. I've played that one a little bit.
Yeah, it's something else, and I think that's something that deserves to be there. Last time I was in California, when I got my other stuff stolen, what was really nice is I had left my when I'd gone on that trip with all my stuff and went up to see my friends in Northern California, I had left my Switch with my niece so she could play Stardew Valley. While I was away, I knew I wasn't going to be playing it. And the beauty of that was the Switch didn't get stolen when all my other stuff got stolen. Yeah. So, that was kind of a cool thing. But during that trip, the entire BioShock series was on sale for $19. So I was able to get 3 games for $19 that I intend to play. And that one really seems like it's more suited to a television as opposed to the handheld, particularly since it got a lot of dark stuff, but dark areas on the screen that can sometimes be, difficult to kind of figure it out. And so I played Firewatch to the end. I played another game by a company called Play Dead called Inside. It was gorgeous game. Again, not too complicated, which is what I need at this point in time. I'm not too good at with the left ZR button. It's it's like I'm not up to speed on it.
I played that some on iOS. That one.
Yeah. It's a great game. It dark, very very dark, but really beautiful in terms of the gameplay and such satisfaction when you solve some of the puzzles. Really like amazing. There's one in that game where you're underwater. Spoiler ahead for those of you who've not played, where you're underwater in this essentially submersible, and there's this demon mermaid that comes after you. And I would continue to try to run to get past the demon mermaid. She would hop onto the submarine and kill me, and I would be back to the beginning. It happened probably 20 times. I'm trying everything I can. Can I go faster? Can I make it so I don't get into the submarine until I'm further away? And she would always catch me. And there was a headlight in the submersible that you were in, that if you shined it in her face, she couldn't come and get you. And I finally figured that out. I was like,
okay.
oh my gosh, look at this. Like, but it was so satisfying to me. And I mean, notwithstanding the fact that this was given to me as a gift. So thank you.
Right.
I really appreciate, the gift. Like I said, I was thinking about buying one for myself. But notwithstanding that this was a gift, I'm not going to buy a PS5. I'm not going to buy, an Xbox. I'm not going to sit down with one of those and begin playing. And one of the other things that I've found is that a lot of the games on the Switch are kind of whimsical. They're really not expensive for the most part. Breath of the Wild is going to cost you $70, but or not Breath of the Wild, but whatever the new Tears of the Kingdom, which is the new one. But you can get the gore and killy stuff if you want to. BioShock's got plenty of that, but there's just kind of a simple, delightful something ineffable. It's an ineffable thing. We'll use that big word. There's something just really sweet about playing games on the Switch that I really am finding that I'm enjoying. I'm really happy that I've kind of found that place. Mm-hmm. But it's been such a delight to me. It's just like a simple thing. Don't have any pressure. Don't feel any pressure to do anything. Just kind of sit down and play for a little bit, and then.
You use headphones with that?
I have, but not always. And by the way, if you have AirPods or Beats or whatever it is, any Bluetooth, you can connect those to the Switch. At least the Switch I have. I don't know about I have the
because you've got the OLED, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So I have used them, but have not felt compelled to use them all the time. A lot of times I don't. Airplane flight I was playing for a while, I put headphones on, and that was fun. But
maybe I'll have to dust it off, Jeff. We've got one. It's behind the TV, and
it's behind the TV. I think you have to.
It's in the charging dock or whatever. Well, not the charging dock, but the docking station.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's there, and it's ready to go. Like I checked it the other day, and it was charged.
We could be friends online, Tom.
Oh, we could be.
You could
Nintendo
be my
buddies.
Nintendo
what
friends,
do they call
right?
them?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's just some name for it. Yeah, but
I know.
Yeah, because I was looking at the games earlier this evening, just as kind of a refresher, just to see cost and things like that. But there's $60 on down. There was something like $3, right? So
and they have a lot of really good sales too, like that BioShock sale. All 3 games for like $19.
Yeah, kind of a test that I do. Like I was a big fan of Double Dragon back in the day, and I
don't know that game.
I can't even remember what console I first played that on, to be honest. But they have it. So when I want to go retro, I can play it. And I've played that with the kids and stuff, and they liked it and everything. So I may have to check it out.
I think you should.
Because there's no money out of pocket. I already have the thing. So it's like just
and if it's sitting behind the TV and nobody's playing it, it's yours.
It is. Yeah, and I think it's funny though, like every once in a while the kids will fire up Mario Kart or something. Because that's a fun one, especially if you're playing with other people.
100%.
That one's a good time. And I think I'll try it out again.
I think you should.
Like I'd never disliked it. It's just something I don't think about because it's behind the TV, probably. But
well, bring it.
Well, it wasn't mine for one. It was the boys. So
of course,
but I can make it mine, as you said.
Yeah,
you guys don't play it.
Yeah, right. And you paid for it,
pretty much.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah. Game recommendations. How many games do you have at this point before we go to that?
All right. Well, let's go down that path. Let me pop this thing out, and I'll tell you. I have found that I like scanning the store to find things. Here we go.
Okay.
Let's wait for the satisfying sound. Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
I have. See, isn't that cute? Even the sounds are nice. It's one of the things that Nintendo does that Apple does really well too. Is there's some
definitely some similarities there.
Satisfaction. I have 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 30 games.
Nice
on here, and one of the things I was doing at the beginning that I no longer feel compelled to do either is I was saying, no, you got to finish this game before you play the next one. And I'm not doing that. I'm now just taking a game. Another game that I just finished that I thought was really sweet was the first Oxenfree.
Not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's kind of a twisty ghost story, like a surreal ghost story. A lot of fun like that. There's a new version of it out that came out too. A couple that I had. Oh, here's an old school one. The last first person shooter that I really played was. Don't y'all laugh at me. Doom.
Oh, I remember that. We used to play that back in my AOL days. We'd play that.
Yeah. Doom, so I
Duke Nukem and all that stuff.
Yeah, all those. So I downloaded Doom. I was playing that the other day. Doesn't creep me out as much as it used to then.
Right.
Doom was pretty creepy at the time. But I've also picked up a lot of the games that I started but didn't finish either on iOS or on macOS, just to kind of kick that into gear. And so I have found a couple of those. The Limbo is one of them that I'm playing. There's one called Old Man's Journey, which was available on arcade, which was really sweet, but I'm enjoying that on here. Creeks, another really good one, kind of fun. I am playing Zelda off and on. That's a little bigger than I'm capable of handling right now. It's I think I need to learn a little bit more about that. So a number of games like that I really have enjoyed playing, and whatever I feel like playing at this point in time, I play.
You ever play any of the Metal Gear titles?
No, like
they were big. Like I think they're PS2 or 3. I can't remember which one it was. Memory's not what it was. But when I was browsing earlier, I saw they had that, and so maybe that's what I'll use to kickstart my Switch playing. Is I'll go back to that because I think they had the trilogy, and those were a lot of fun for me. They're kind of a shooter game, but it's not like Call of Duty style type stuff. It's more of a behind enemy lines, and you've got missions to accomplish and stuff like that. But yeah, those were a lot of fun.
Those are I don't know. I'm not BioShock aside. Those first person shooters not really a thing that I'm very good at. So again, because it controls, so maybe I'll pick that up. I like puzzlier games.
Yep.
Or mysteries, that you kind of need to solve, which is what Firewatch was in that. But, I'm old on this bus, You
and me both.
I'm not the new guy on the block, but it has been a really, really new and enjoyable experience for me.
Very nice.
Just kind of
That's
fun.
Good.
So, and it's good to do that sometimes,
Yeah, because you got to unplug at some point, and that's a good way
really
to do it. And it's not mindless necessarily either, especially if
most
you're doing
of them are not mindless.
And, things like that. There's a lot of thinking, so it's not like you're just sitting there watching TikToks or something. And I shouldn't slur TikTok like that because not all TikToks are completely mindless.
So no.
It's
nor is YouTube,
right?
But, but it can be.
It can be anything.
Me on that Twitter. See what I did there? Me on that Twitter app watching, people crash into things endlessly, which I can burn, an hour easy sometimes doing that is a waste of mind space. It's satisfying on some level, but I think it's mostly a instantaneous dopamine hit rather than
right. Yeah. All right. Well, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it because I remember you were telling me you were thinking about getting it. And then that they got it for you as a gift. So I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I really
happy that it's been good for you. You like it.
It's been great. It really has. A lot of fun.
All right. Good stuff. So there are 3 Switches available. Prices $199 up to $350. I'm sure you can find them on sale here and there too. So and I know they do bundles
on eBay
and stuff.
Or whatever.
And so if that's something that you're curious in, maybe give it a go. And
highly recommend.
All right. Well, Jeff, my friend, we've done it yet again.
What? We've burned another hour?
Another hour. Man, they go quick.
They do. Yeah, you should have been playing a Switch instead of listening to us.
Well, I'll see that when I review sessions. All right, so just remember, everybody, if you have any questions or feedback, hit us up, feedback@basicafshow.com. Website's the same thing. Keep in mind, we still do have stickers. So if you'd like a sticker, just ask. Be happy to send you one.
Sure.
I've got
and a magnet. We have magnets,
and
too,
we've got
Tom.
magnets too.
I ordered the magnets. You always talk about stickers, but I'm the one who got magnets.
You did.
My mom even has one on her dryer.
Well, she's a good mom.
That's how good they are.
Yeah,
she is. She loves me.
Yeah, well, that's good. And so if you like a magnet and or a sticker, just ask. We're nice guys.
Please.
We'll send it to you. Won't even charge you for it. So
no, we'll even pay for the stamp.
Right, we will. So just ask, for crying out loud. I'm trying to get rid of these things. So Basic AF Show, again, all the podcast apps. Tell us again, Jeff, who the intro music and artwork is from, just in case people can't remember from
Psychokinetics, frontman for whom is Celsius 7. Highly recommend you check out their music. Great stuff. And then we have Randall Martin Design, which you can look that up on the internet. He has done
fantastic
our artwork.
Design work.
Yeah, he does amazing work, and we highly recommend it. He's done a lot of stuff for both Tom and I separately, and he does brilliant work. Very well able to make something amazing in a little bit of time. I mean, just look at our logo. Yeah. I mean, honestly, go look at our logo on your favorite podcast app, and you'll see that we stand out like nobody else does.
It does. It looks great.
It's best friggin' artwork on the planet. So
he's done another piece for me that's been very well received by a lot of people that I also have stickers for, but go
ahead, tell us who it is, Tom. You don't have to hide.
It's the little Instagram page I do for my Subaru side of life.
What's it called?
Subi Adventures, which I know some of you know about. But yeah, the stickers have been very popular there. People really like those, and that's all Randall's work. So if you need work, he's your guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, that's it. Thanks for being here. Have a fantastic rest of your day, rest of your night, and we will talk to you again next time.
See ya.
Imperfections do prefer to leave you on a